And now it's kicking the beggar. Simon's there, and he's putting the road in. And not terribly hard, but there's a lot of style, and the beggar's down, so Simon can move on.
It only took one skit to stir up a fuss. Half the audience laughed. The other half squirmed in their seats, and the British Broadcasting Corporation quietly erased the scene from program lineups. From then on, the tale spread that this one dodgy moment brought Monty Python's Flying Circus crashing down, which is not quite true. But what made this single sketch so explosive that it left BBC executives unsettled? And why did Monty Python's style ignite Britain's nerves?
Sir Robin!
Ah, you said the word!
Sir Robin!
My liege, it's good to see you.
Oh, you did it again!
Why Monty Python shocked Britain? Monty Python began on television in 1969. The show first aired on BBC One on the 5th of October, 1969. The crew had 6 members: Graham Chapman, John Cleese, Terry Gilliam, Eric Idle, Terry Jones, and Michael Palin. Chapman, Cleese, and Idle met at Cambridge. Jones and Palin met at Oxford. Gilliam studied in California. They worked on other comedy shows and then formed a group to write and perform together. Their style looked different from most television shows at the time. The show used short sketches that flowed into each other seamlessly. Terry Gilliam added cut-out animation that acted as a bridge between the scenes. The writers mixed silly jokes with serious lines about religion, class, the army, and the nation. They used coarse words in some sketches, and they used bodily humor. Some people in the press called parts of the show rude. Some BBC managers described the show as shocking and nihilistic. The Pythons avoided standard variety rules. They did not always end a joke with a punchline that is easy to grasp, especially for people who did not understand humor. That odd rhythm felt new to many viewers. Younger people often liked the fast pace and brave storyline. Older readers in newspapers saw the show as a threat. Columnists wrote hard pieces. Those pieces made the BBC watch people's reactions closely and respond when complaints rose. The broadcasters sometimes asked the troupe to change the content of their skit. Producers asked for small edits or a visible audience cue to show distance from a joke. The group agreed to some changes but kept other items intact. The BBC acted when letters and calls increased. Many viewers sent formal complaints by post. Regional stations sometimes refused to show an episode. Monty Python crossed borders soon after its first series. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation showed early episodes in 1970. A film of sketches called "And Now for Something Completely Different" brought the comedy to the United States in 1971. Stations in America and Australia often edited episodes to suit their audience. Those cuts removed lines, images, or full sketches. Some skits led to headline complaints. The group satirized bishops and church figures, which upset faithful viewers. They parodied the upper class in sketches such as Upper Class Twit of the Year, which drew criticism from some papers. Terry Gilliam's animations sometimes showed nudity or odd figures that broadcasters later trimmed. Simulated violence and gags about bodies and death in some sketches prompted strong complaints. Work pressures also affected the group. The Pythons wrote for radio, television, stage, and then film. They recorded albums. John Cleese later stepped back from regular television work after a few series. Graham Chapman struggled with alcoholism. Several members wanted to focus on films such as Monty Python and The Holy Grail, and later Life of Brian. Creative fatigue and other projects reduced the yearning for a long television run. The show kept a loyal group of fans, even while some people complained. The broadcaster edited master tapes in some cases, and those removed sketches became rare. Over time, the scarcity of certain scenes added to press stories and to the idea that the show had crossed too many lines. The first series began in October 1969, and the program continued with 45 episodes through the end of December 1974. Those talks over the show and the editing made people remember Monty Python in later years, and helped make certain sketches into symbols of the wider controversy around the show at home. But among all the controversies, one sketch stood out. So shocking, so unsettling, it sparked outrage across Britain. What made this scene unforgettable? The Undertaker's scene. The closing sketch in Royal Episode 13 became the most talked-about scene in Monty Python's television run. That episode first reached viewers on the 22nd of December, 1970. The sketch was recorded a few months earlier, on October 16, 1970, at a BBC studio. The writers were Graham Chapman and John Cleese. John Cleese played the son who brought his dead mother to the Undertakers. Graham Chapman played the blunt Undertaker. Eric Idle appeared as the assistant called Fred. The scene begins with Cleese's character carrying a sack. He moves slowly into the Undertaker's office and speaks in a low, upset voice. Chapman answers with a calm voice. He treats the body as a practical problem to solve. The Undertaker lists ways to deal with a dead woman. He mentions burial and cremation. He then speaks of more shocking options in a short, cold way. Those lines crossed the path of many viewers at the time. The production planned an audience cue to show disapproval. BBC producers feared the skit would read as approval of the joke. The plan asked the studio crowd to boo and to shout near the end. The cast and the production team followed directions. The audience began to boo and to shout before the final beat ended. Some people in the crowd laughed, while others called out in anger. Safety rules kept the crowd from rushing the stage in force. The camera cut that showed the mixed reaction looked awkward on screen. That awkward shot became one of the main reasons the press and viewers focused on the skit. After the broadcast, the BBC received many letters and telephone calls. Newspapers printed harsh columns that attacked the skit. The broadcaster acted quickly. BBC staff removed the skits from the master tape used for later replays. The network replaced the closing scene in later broadcasts with a short, harmless piece. That change made the original skit hard to find for many years. A copy of the original skit survived outside the BBC archive. Private recordings and overseas copies kept the scene alive. A low-quality tape surfaced in the 80s. The show then reappeared on home videos and on later television shows. When people saw the original skit, their reaction was the same. They judged it. The return changed some public views, but the initial removal had already given the show a strong reputation. Senior BBC managers reviewed the letters and the press stories in the days after the broadcast. They met producers and legal staff to check the repeat run. The decision to replace the final sketch rested on taste concerns and on simple practical issues such as music rights and archive rules. The substitute closing kept the episode length and avoided the lines that had drawn the complaints. The choice seemed influential. Cast members later talked about the recording. John Cleese described moments from the shoot when he felt the lines were dark. Graham Chapman defended the writing while saying the crowd's reaction surprised them. Terry Gilliam, Michael Palin, Eric Idle, and Terry Jones all remembered the mix of laughter and boos in the studio. Crew memoirs record that the plan for a staged reaction existed to reduce the risk of the skit being read as approval of cruelty. Did not read well to some viewers when seen on screen. The Undertaker's play sits beside other strong pieces in the same episode, including a lifeboat scene that also tested taste limits. The two skits together tightened the focus on the episode. That pairing raised the volume of complaints. Regional stations and foreign broadcasters then made cuts and edits, which spread a limited view of the skit to bigger audiences. Years later, the scene appears in annotated collections and in full episode restorations. People can watch the original recording today and check the script for the show. The restored footage shows a short sketch that mixes dark humor with a crisp stage rhythm. The scene retains its edge, but it also reads as part of a longer show that faced criticism. The skit went ahead as initially planned, and the room reacted in two halves. Some people burst out laughing, while others seemed triggered. The cast kept going, never breaking character. After the show, the the broadcaster decided the sketch would not appear in replays. That decision made the piece stand out, turning one short scene into the moment most often remembered from Monty Python's run. Other sketches that caused outrage, and the facts. Monty Python used many strange ideas. Some plays upset viewers more than others. These pieces often drew letters, newspaper columns, and edits by television stations. We have the main sketches that caused trouble, and what happened with each. The lifeboat skit showed shipwrecked men arguing about who to eat. The scene used respectful language, while the characters discussed killing for food. John Cleese and Graham Chapman acted with dry delivery. Viewers wrote to the British Broadcasting Corporation about cannibalism. The sketch played before the closing of The Undertaker's piece in the same episode. Two strong sketches, back-to-back, raised the volume of complaints for that show. Upper-class twit of the year mocked the British upper class. The sketch put rich, foolish men in absurd contests. Michael Palin and Graham Chapman were among the players. National newspapers complained that the show disrespected social customs, even though the skit did not break rules of taste by graphic content. It drew anger because it openly mocked a specific class. The Bishop play used slapstick and rude lines aimed at church figures. The troupe placed bishops and priests in silly situations and repeated those jabs across shows. Faithful viewers sent formal complaints. Editors at regional stations flagged the pieces as risky. Clergy groups and some columnists wrote that the play crossed a line with religious respect. Terry Gilliam produced a cutout animation that linked the plays. His work sometimes showed partial nudity or intimate body images. British television at the time had strict standards for images and for music rights. Some of Gilliam's suggestions used borrowed illustrations and music that created rights issues. The British Broadcasting Corporation cut several animations after first runs when legal checks showed problems or when viewers called them crude. Sam Peckinpah's Salad Days copied the violent look of film director Sam Peckinpah. The skit used slow motion and buckets of fake blood in a short parody. The parody appeared as a filmed pastiche inside an episode. Viewers who read the national press felt the footage did not belong in a comedy show. The British Broadcasting Corporation removed parts of that filmed parody from some replays and video releases, altered the pacing, or trimmed the blood shots. The Naked Organist was an opening gag that showed a naked man in church in a short comic cut. The sight gag surprised viewers at that time. Newspapers called the shot improper for the times. The British Broadcasting Corporation replaced the opening for some repeat showings and censored parts of Terry Gilliam's linking animation that contained similar nudity. Swearing and curse words appeared in plays. The crew used harsh language in doses to hit a point. Many viewers complained about strong language on a public channel. The British Broadcasting Corporation provided warnings in some cases and edited repeat runs to remove or censor the language. Many plays included mockery of national institutions. The troupe satirized the army, the courts, the media, and public school rituals. That satire annoyed conservative readers and columnists. Young viewers often enjoyed the mock fights. The split opinion showed in complaints that reached the British Broadcasting Corporation. Broadcasters outside Britain often edited episodes more heavily. American and Australian stations cut parts they found too rude or too violent. When those edited versions circulated, viewers who had never seen the original assumed the show had been banned. The edits added to the sense that Monty Python had crossed a line. Editors at the British Broadcasting Corporation kept records of letters and meetings about these plays. Some episodes lost some scenes from the master tapes. The missing pieces later returned in home video releases or archival restorations. The patches and edits explain much of how the show's reputation grew. The raw sketches existed, and the edits and complaints made some pieces more famous than others. But what if the edits and controversies were only part of the story? Could one shocking moment have sealed the show's fate? The real reason the show ended, and how a single scene became the scapegoat. Monty Python's Flying Circus ended its run on television in 1974 after 4 series. The final episode aired on the 5th of December in 1974. The group had already taken work away from weekly television by then. Several reasons explain why the show stopped, and the decision was not the result of one scene. John Cleese left the regular television lineup after the 3rd series. He felt the scripts were repeating earlier ideas and that the quality was slipping. He also found working with some members harder at that time, in part because Graham Chapman had a drinking problem that affected rehearsals and shoots. Cleese agreed to appear when earlier material was reused, but he did not return as a full member for the 4th series. His choice changed the group balance. The 4th series was shorter than earlier runs. The team produced 6 episodes for the final season. That shorter run reflected less appetite for a long television schedule. The members were busy with other projects. The troupe had already made a film of plays, and now for something completely different. In 1971, after the television series, the group moved into feature films. Monty Python and the Holy Grail was released in 1975. Life of Brian followed in 1979. Those film projects required time, money, and focus, and they drew the members away from weekly television work. Money and scheduling pressures also mattered. Television budgets at the British Broadcasting Corporation were tighter in the early 70s. The crew found film work offered more control over content and a better chance to finance longer projects. Some members took outside jobs to keep their income stable. Contract talks and the need to secure rights for music and images made replay broadcasts harder to sell. The practical side of television made further series less attractive. Personal and health issues also played a part. Graham Chapman battled alcohol dependence during the early 1970s. His health and behavior caused strain during writing sessions and rehearsals. Other members had their own family and career pressures. Long runs of script writing demand stable output. Over the years, the team faced fatigue from constant deadlines and the pressure to produce new material that did not repeat earlier jokes. Practical production problems made replays and future work harder. The cast members used music and borrowed images that later needed rights clearing. Some pieces had music that the British Broadcasting Corporation could not license easily for replay runs. The group also used film inserts and Terry Gilliam's cutout animation, which sometimes relied on ill-defined image rights. Those technical and legal hurdles limited the value of old tapes and made the idea of running more shows less attractive to producers. The British Broadcasting Corporation removed and edited certain plays from master tapes when complaints rose. The decision to cut some pieces left gaps in the archive. Censoring and editing created scarcity for certain plays, which fed public discussion. Overseas broadcasters, including some American and Australian stations, made further edits when they acquired the show. Those edited versions changed how foreign audiences understood the series and increased sensational headlines in the press. The Undertaker's play became a high-profile example of the edits. The British Broadcasting Corporation replaced the original closing play for repeats after heavy complaints. That removal made the play rare and turned it into a label for controversy. Many people often use the scene as a simple explanation for the end of the show. The truth requires more parts, such as personnel choices, health problems, new ambitions, and production limits. Internal records and memoirs show the cast members discussed stopping the television series. Decisions featured practical and creative reasons. The Pythons wanted to keep their standards high. They worried television might demand rehashed content to fill schedules. A move toward films offered control over content and timing. The group also wanted to grow into other formats that television could not support at the time. After December 5th, 1974, the troupe matured into new phases. They made successful feature films and stage shows. Monty Python and the Holy Grail and Life of Brian became central to their later fame. John Cleese wrote and performed in other projects, such as Faulty Towers. Michael Palin, Terry Jones, Eric Idle, and Terry Gilliam also moved on to film and television work. The mix of new work and personal strain explains why the television series closed when it did. The idea that one play alone took the show off the air grew because of removal and scarce copies. Press stories simplified the complex story into a single cause. Editing by the British Broadcasting Corporation and further cuts overseas made certain scenes more talked about than the rest of the show. A short, controversial play became an easy headline. The final decision to end the series rested on the many plays that were not socially accepted by certain people. Monty Python's Flying Circus didn't fall because of one sketch. It ended through a mix of controversy, fatigue, and ambition for bigger projects. Yet that single censored scene became the legend that defined the show's myth. What do you think? Was it unfairly blamed? Or did it truly capture the spirit of Python's bold, untamed comedy? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.